On today's show, we have Dr. Jimmy Deom from Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and we're going to be talking about the future of full scope optometric care on the Optometric Insights show. Jimmy, glad to have you with us, and always glad just to engage and talk about really where we are now in optometry and where we're going in optometry. You are a young leader.
Thank you.
You graduated in 2014, so you're less than 10 years out, and you've really kind of carved a name out for yourself, not only locally with the patients that you care for, but also in the optometric profession in large. I mean, you have your own podcast. You are really becoming involved in a lot of the new technologies that are coming to market. I see you lecturing more. I see your name in print more. I just see you getting more involved in everything optometry. So we really need that. But one of the things that's interesting, and the thing that I really, every single time I talk to you, I really enjoy discussing with you, is kind of where optometry is now, where our place is now, and really understanding kind of your perspectives on where you feel optometry is moving in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So right now, Jimmy, share with me your perspective on the platform of optometry, in particular emphasizing where we are in terms of scope and how important that is for optometry to embrace that right now.
Yeah, so I guess, it's really important to know a little bit about my background in reference to all of that. So let me just first say thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love podcasting, and I'm happy that you guys are doing a podcast, and I appreciate you inviting me here. So I love optometry. I absolutely love it. I really do mean that with all my heart and soul. I really do mean that. I enjoy seeing patients every single day. I get excited about it. Every time I jump in a room, and I say, "Yo, what's going on? How are you?" And I'm fired up, because I'm just so excited to be able to give the gift of sight and protect it. So, my background is actually when I was in undergrad, I didn't know I was going to do optometry. I had no real optometric background. I'm an emmetrope. I'm spherical. I'm orthophoric. I have perfect vision. Perfect. All my eye stuff is.
So you don't have the traditional course where it's like I had bad eyes. I like my optometrist, and I went into this.
Not me. And so, I was in undergrad, and I was looking for a job in the healthcare field, and I just so happened to get a job at America's Best. So, this is nothing wrong with America's Best, really. And this is not a smear campaign at all. I'm very grateful for what they gave me. And what they gave me was a heck of a lot of experience, in a very short period of time. And so there was a optician there that took me under his wing. In Pennsylvania, it's not a licensed optician state. New York is. And so he was from New York. And so he was a licensed optician, and you needed to have an associate's degree. So he took me under his wing. I got ABO certified while I was in school. Wow. And I really enjoyed it. I loved picking out frames with people and selling frames and all that. And the doctor there was just burnt out. And, he didn't like it. He kind of hated it. And he's like, go do something else. This kind of sucks. There's no future in it. And at the same time, I knew another guy, and it's just so happened, well, it was a friend of a friend or whatever, but, and it happens to be, who I'm a partner in practice with right now, who was just kicking butt, just totally kicking butt, loving life, practicing, to the fullest extent of his licensure, and really just loving what he was doing. And so I saw that, and I saw this other guy, and I'm like, how does this happen? How do we have this juxtaposition? And I saw what I could do, and I saw myself enjoying, what I was doing there, and how I could expand that and move into the future with it. And I made it my life's goal at that very point in time, that if I was going to go down this path, that I was going to be like that other doctor, and that I was going to try my best to influence others to be like him also. And so that's really what it's been all about. So from day one, I was involved, in school with, legislative stuff and AOSA and, all that kind of stuff. So it's an uphill battle 100%, but yeah, it's where it's at, man. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't absolutely love what I do. I have the pleasure of having students with me, and they're always like, yeah, this is great. I love it. How do you do this? And I'm just like, well, you just do it. There's so much of it out there, and you just do it. But I think it takes a certain level of courage and I don't know,
Well,
something.
I think you said it right. It's sometimes it's an uphill battle, and I'm a strong proponent that anything that's worth it is an uphill battle. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to really want it, and Jimmy, you obviously want it. So tell us a little bit about your practice and really
Yeah.
kind of the scope or the nature of your
Sure.
practice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I stepped in, can I curse? I stepped in SHIT. I did. I stepped in it and I got lucky, because I jumped right into an opportunity, with Tom Kislin, who, is pretty well known in the speaker
Yeah, he
circuit for
is.
dry eye and ocular surface disease,
Hmm.
and really kind of built this practice around this model. And, just somebody who's always willing to push the envelope from a scope perspective. Made a relationship in our community very early on with a local retinal specialist and cataract surgeon, that basically everything stays in house. So they come to our office, they rent space from us, they do everything there except for the surgery. So patients never leave. So it's our group, but yet we have all these other pieces of the pie kind of working together, and it really makes us the way it should be. The leader of the eye care trajectory. And so if it's not surgical, we're doing it. And that's kind of what I walked into, and that's what I learned. And the thing that I think makes it work, and this from a private practice perspective, it's all the beautiful people on the back end. It's our billing, it's our staff, it's our,
Hmm.
and that's a lot of work. Because I talk to people all the time about, just bill it medically, or just do that exam, do dry eye follow-ups and all these things. But I think people just generally don't know how to get paid for those things, in my opinion. But from a scope perspective, we do it all. We have all the toys, OCTs, OCTAs, LipiFlow, MiBaFlow, IPL. We just got a radio frequency device,
Right.
mask and probing, amniotic membranes, sclerals. So, pretty much if we can do it, we're doing it. And then some.
You hit on a unique piece, which is the billing and coding aspect of it, which is just at times as complex as some of the clinical things that we're performing and doing. And I think it's critically important for us to really understand that just as well as the clinical side of it so that you can coordinate the care because, like you said, ultimately, I mean, we're qualified to provide the care, but we have to at some point or at the end of the day, really sustain the business model. And the only way to really do that is to, as you mentioned, understand that billing and coding.
Yeah.
So we're at a point in time right now where we have, I mean, a pretty large scope and all of these new technologies too are allowing us to do things that just didn't exist like a decade ago. When you entered optometry school, a lot of the technologies that you were just talking about were not even being used in optometry, and that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're on the cusp of several new technologies that are coming. What gets you excited? What technology is like you're like, oh, I've been watching this. I'm excited to incorporate this into the practice if and when it comes out.
I think just some of the new delivery systems, I think delivery systems are definitely, what we hear a lot about. And, so any sort of the injectable options that may be, sort of subconj injections or lid injections or implantables like punctal plugs and eluting devices. Those
Yep.
things get me very excited. Any sort of topical treatment for macular degeneration, anti-VEGF type things, that gets me very excited because I just think it opens the door, it blows the door wide open. And anything, for macular degeneration. I think there's so much out there. And it's not really a sexy thing right now because it's a bunch of old people getting injections into their eye. But I mean, we live in the same, kind of, demographic where, we have a lot of Ethels and, Bobs and Freds getting injections all the time. And certainly I think that could be a lot better, so
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of stuff out there and, I think it's going to be very interesting, how we incorporate some of those things as they come to fruition. And I think the technologies on delivery systems will be, in the next 10 to 15 years, we'll be talking about different things, so how we position ourselves from a scope of practice perspective, I think matters a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting too how we'll be monitoring the success or the failure of all of those all
True.
of those treatments as well too is going to change. diagnostics, again, that didn't exist a decade ago are now mainstays in our practice. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of that evolves. And two, again, making it all work so that we can provide care, but still sustain the business model as well.
Yeah.
Jimmy, listen, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time. It's always great hearing from a young buck like you.
I'll take that as long as I can get it.
Well, you got 3 more years, and then once you get to that 10-year mark, you move into the next category.
Fine.
No, but really, sincerely, truly appreciate your time. Appreciate you being on here. Appreciate your perspective. Again, as a young buck in optometry and really looking at the future on how you see it, that's really valuable, because there's a lot of people that are in your segment of the optometric population that are wondering kind of what's the next thing? How do I position myself now to be successful, better care for my patients, and also what does that look like in the future? And I want to thank you, the audience, for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to our podcast and make sure you look at our show notes as well too. Thank you.